It was so famous, everybody knew about it, even people in Calgary and Vancouver talked about it. And it was called Webb's. And it was named after its owner, Harry Webb, who was a really amazing entrepreneur. He, for example, had the biggest bread business in the Dominion of Canada. He had huge bread factories just up further north on Yonge Street, delivered 1,400 loaves of bread every morning and another 1,400 in the afternoon, all across the city of Toronto. He also had this Webb's restaurant, which was considered the best place to meet and eat in the city. Their claim to fame, by the way, was they offered to all their clients, they really played this up, free liquid ozone. Now, what you and I would call table water. But it was a big thing, and that was where we started, basically. We started our meetings in November, exactly 121 years ago, downstairs in this restaurant called Webb's, and that restaurant is also where we had all our first meetings. So we started our meetings 2 weeks after we were founded. So our first meeting was on December the 3rd of 1903, and quickly we became known as the club of record because we always recorded, unlike the Canadian Club or any other club operating at the time, we recorded and published every word that was ever uttered at the podium of the Empire Club. So that was the beginning. And we also named this gentleman as our corporate secretary, who was responsible for getting all of our guest speakers at the time. And this gentleman reached for the stars. I mean, we almost immediately started seeing very, very famous, world famous people showing up at the Empire Club. For example, about a month after we were founded, we had Sir Sanford Fleming. Anybody that knows about international time and time zones knows that name, of course. He actually lived on what is College Street today, and he came to the Empire Club and talked about the system of underwater cables that linked all of the Empire countries and allowed them almost instantaneous communication, which in 1903 was big news. So England could talk to Canada, could talk to Australia, within minutes. That was never done before 1903. So we actually became pretty famous very quickly. We, being a member of the Empire Club would set you back $1 a year. Our first lunch, we sold out at 100 people, and we realized we better get a membership list. So we established a membership list, capped it at 500, and immediately went up to 500 with a waiting list of thousands of people. So the Empire Club, if you ever think of its history, you've got to understand, it was one of the main sources of communication for Canadians. During the Second World War, our president at the time reported at the annual general meeting, something I discovered looking at our wonderful website, that because of the magic of radio, in 1944, there were 800,000 people a week listening to Empire Club addresses, which by then were originating from the Royal York Hotel. Anybody that doesn't know the history, Royal York Hotel was opened in 1929, and so we moved from where we were having meetings. By the way, we continued to meet at Webb's until it was demolished in 1914. In 1914, what went up on this site? The Dominion Bank of Canada. You're actually standing right now in what was the boardroom, the chairman's boardroom of the Dominion Bank. The chairman's office is directly behind us. The corporate secretary's office was right next to it. This is actually where the board table and all the board meetings of the Toronto Dominion Bank would be. So this is where we had our meetings. And then we went to Webb's, and then we had a few meetings at the Queen's Hotel, which is on the site of what is now the Royal York Hotel. Queen's Hotel, the first hotel in the country to have telephones in every room. And of course, one of our first speakers, as you may all know, was Alexander Graham Bell, right? So another famous person of the Empire Club. So all to say that we have quite the history. And the website captures that, but we wanted also to mark the place where we were born, because the more you learn about the Empire Club, the more you know it's more than a speaking club. It's more than just a platform where you go to educate yourself. It also has deeply impacted policy decisions and major business and political decisions made in Canada over the past 121 years. Right from the beginning of why we were set up, to prevent that movement toward the United States that we didn't want, quite frankly. The first speech at the Empire Club, the gentleman speaking said, I have a great admiration for our neighbor to the south, but it doesn't really mean that I want to live with them, right? I like them, love looking at them and watching them, but it doesn't mean I want to live with them, right? So we just have such a different culture. So anyway, all to say that we, over time, grew and became the club of record in the country. It was quite amazing, the growth, and I can tell you that the presidents of the Empire Club, that we call chairs now, over the last 121 years have continued the tradition of recording everything and making it accessible to as many Canadians as possible. So we actually view ourselves as a major source of information. Are we naive enough to think that the Empire Club is as big as it was, 50, 60, 70 years ago? Of course not. Almost no information that's outside of the internet realm is, right? Because people now, of course, get their information in radically different ways than they did historically in the past. But that doesn't mean that we still don't have a tremendous role to play. The Empire Club has kept very, very contemporary. It's always stepped out of its comfort zone. We quickly moved away in the last 10 years, particularly from being British-centric to being all about being inclusive and diverse. In other words, really representing the population that we're serving, right? Because let's face it, Toronto isn't particularly known as being British-centric anymore, right? It's a city that's very, very cosmopolitan and dynamic. So we reflect that, and the club today, if you look at our board of directors, we like to think it's a real, true reflection of what the city is all about. So all to say that we're here today to unveil a plaque which will mark this birthplace at Webb's Restaurant directly below us. And I think it's pretty exciting, and I'm so thankful to the mayor for coming today, because I know that Mayor Chow is actually known for someone that really respects the history of the city and its great institutions. So really thankful that you were able to be with us today. And before I introduce you more formally, Mayor, I wanted to also tell you that we now call our presidents chairs, and the incumbent chair, Jenna Donaldson, has a wonderful, wonderful personal history with the Empire Club. And her journey is quite an inspiration to many of us. And we're delighted to have her with us today. So to bring you greetings from the Empire Club of Canada, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chair, Jenna Donaldson.